Friday to you. Again, I keep on doing the happy thing. That's supposed to be reserved for Locked On Wolverine, this podcast. This is a different deal here. Anyway, we're back. We're going to talk about one thing that I've kind of had on my mind the last day here. And that's kind of, it's twofold. It's kind of a slow jam to the idea of what Michigan fans, I feel, not everybody, but there's a lot of people out there that sit there that are kind of slow to react to a lot of things that they're maybe seeing or whatever. And one of the things, I got in a spirited discussion, if you can call it that, with one of the people that loves to do it on the Facebook page, which I credit them for being that passionate. And he's not wrong. This isn't me doing a takedown. Sometimes I do those takedown type things on the podcast. This is not one of those. I just simply disagree. But we got into a little bit of an argument because in his eyes, the secondary for Michigan this year has been atrocious, save for Dax Hill. And I disagree. I'm not even going to say I vehemently disagree. I disagree. I will disagree with atrocious. That's not the word he used, but what I do think is, and what I said is, I think that the secondary, particularly the corners, because I was like, okay, you're wrong about Brad Hawkins. Dude hasn't allowed a pass. He's had maybe one bad play. The touchdown that ended up happening for Nebraska, the first one, from rewatch on video, it kind of seemed like, all right, he certainly was at least partly responsible for the coverage there. But otherwise, I mean, when targeted, he has not given up a single pass. So Brad Hawkins, kudos to you. Dude's been a rock star this year. If you aren't including him, when you consider Dax has certainly given up some passes, I believe looking at Pro Football Focus and their tally, I think he's given up like 200-something yards. He gave up the touchdown to DK from Wisconsin, and actually both passes on that drive to DK from Wisconsin were targeting Daxton Hill. But anyway, I'm not here to talk about Daxton. Dax also a rock star. But Gemon Green and Vincent Gray, and I think that they have played good. I don't think they've been elite, of course. I think they have been good. And I think it is a far cry from what we saw last year, with this exception of, I thought both of them kind of started getting better, started getting into what we've seen this year, the last two games of the year, off and on. But aside from that, it's like Gemon Green had a really good game against Penn State last year. He was clearly the best player on defense. But I think what we've seen has been a vast improvement from these guys. Is it been Jordan Lewis or David Long-esque? No, it hasn't been that. But it certainly is a step in the right direction, and it's something that you can win with, right? Especially when you have the rest of the front seven. We'll see more, obviously, come the next 2 weeks. Northwestern certainly will pass the ball. They can't run it. And then Michigan State will try to do both, run and pass. We're going to see more, but it's some of it is it on them? Some of it is it on, like, I think it was the Rutgers game when they were playing soft coverage, but they were asked to, right? Like, you don't know what they're being asked to do. Certainly there are times where that's the thing, right? They're being asked to play soft coverage, and then it tightens up, and once the coaches decide to actually make adjustments. But I think that they have been good. I don't think that they have been elite, and I think that's fine, right? Because you do have other elite players. You've got an elite player in Aiden Hutchinson. David Ajabo is starting to look elite. Actually, that whole front, the defensive tackles have been great in the last couple weeks, particularly. Then the linebackers, when Josh Ross is in there, at least, it's been phenomenal. But even in that Rutgers game, you saw some of those younger guys start to come along as the game has gone forward. This isn't a defense that's necessarily going to look exactly like what Don Brown's did when it was elite. So I think that's part of the thing, right? They're not going to always be on an island and they're not. And when they are, that doesn't necessarily mean that they are going to be shut down, right? These are guys that essentially, if you really put things in context, just finished out 1 year's worth of play. I understand, like, they played last year and they played this year, but they just got their 12th game as starters. So you have to give them a little bit of leeway to kind of grow into what they're doing. And you've seen that. They look significantly better from what you saw against Minnesota, against Michigan State last year, to what you're seeing so far this year, now through 6 games. That's exactly what you want, right? Is that improvement. But I had said something about the slow to react. I feel like I have had these issues in my tenure covering this Michigan football team, is this kind of slow to react. People kind of still, like, they get their narrative, and it seems like the narrative starts right away, right? Something's bad. I mean, maybe not, actually. That's not 100% true, but I think about 2017. I was looking at how everything was going in 2017, and it was really early that I said, this offensive line is a giant issue. And people were wanting to blame it on Wilton Speight before his injury and say, no, the team isn't doing well because of Wilton Speight. Whereas I saw a guy that was making good decisions but had to rush his throws because the offensive line was just very porous. A year plus later, after Michigan played Nebraska, hosted Nebraska, like, I can't remember what was that, like 59-0, or I don't remember what it was. I don't think that's what it was, but it was a drubbing nonetheless, and it was really on the back of the offensive line. And I was still having arguments with people, Michigan fans, who comment on the Twitter and the Facebook, and I sound very old by calling it the Twitter and the just call it Facebook. It's cleaner for you social people who watched Social Network, which came out a good 10 years ago as it was. Anyway, still, they were like, oh, offensive line is trash. And I'm like, have you not watched? Now, I'm not saying there are people who have watched, who pay attention, and are necessarily going to agree with me about the secondary. But I think the secondary it's above average, right? It's not average. If it was average, certainly you would see a situation, and I know Michigan hasn't faced a lot of really good passing teams yet. Certainly we've seen some, but nothing that's like upper echelon. We haven't, and don't say Ohio State. That's the best passing team in the country, right? That's a different animal. But I think that they are serviceable, right? You're going to get got. That's the thing about defense. I think that ever since the 3 games in 2015 when Michigan blanked 3 straight teams, 3 straight shutouts, and then with Don Brown coming in and 78-0 against Rutgers and everything like that, and didn't allow a first down until late in the fourth quarter, I feel like people have started, especially with the defense, expected and demanded perfection, and that's just not how it works, especially in a college football that is based off of like these high-flying offenses. It's just not how it works. I mean, just look at what happened to Iowa. Heck, look at what happened to Wisconsin against Michigan. It's you have these top-flight defenses, and if you have an offense that is built to take advantage of defense, I mean, if you just have an offense that is capable, it will take advantage of an amazing defense. That's just how it works. Now, I'm not saying that Michigan's defense is a finished product. It is not. We're going to hopefully continue to see it grow as the year goes on. I just caution for those who demand perfection. You're not going to see it, especially in today's day and age with college football. Right now, maybe the only team that kind of seems like it's pretty close to perfect on the defensive side of the ball is Georgia. It's rife with 5 stars, right? It's essentially a defense where it has the best guy in the country at every position. It's a different scenario. But nonetheless, I just want you to take a step back, understand that you need the balance that Michigan has. The cornerbacks are not awful. Certainly there's going to be good games, there's going to be bad games. Expect the Ohio State game right off the bat to be a bad game. And that's nothing on Vincent Gray or Gemon Green. That's just what Ohio State does to everybody in the passing game. That's just what they do. So you hope that you at least make them one-dimensional and stop them in the run game. because it's the number one offense in the country. You can't expect that to all of a sudden just shut down the number one offense in the country, because I've already gotten that comment. Well, it's not going to do against Ohio State. Okay, tell me a defense that's going to shut down Ohio State. It's kind of like, I know Ohio State's defense wasn't good last year, but like, no one was shutting down Alabama last year. Kind of similar, right? Best wide receiver group in the country, a quarterback that is capable. Guess what? You're going to get got. So you better find another way to win. So anyway, that's my thoughts. Just understand, things are going to be a work in progress. I think this is going pretty well, right? I mean, they've had one game that they've given up quite a bit, and that was against Nebraska, which was the number 11 offense in the country. So I say things are going all right. And until they go actually wrong, there's no reason to start panicking and being like, well, it's not going to look good against whoever. Just let it happen, for better or worse. All right? So anyway, that's my rant for the day. Thanks for watching The Morning Drip. We'll be back on Friday. Unless there's something that crazy comes up tonight or tomorrow, then we're probably not doing morning show tomorrow. Friday, preview of Northwestern. We'll be back to 5 days for Michigan State week. Can't wait. All right. Thanks for watching.